So it's a really fun. You have to really like put on your charisma and try to convince people to sell you things and haggle and like that kind of thing. So those are the two shows I've been on. And then when I was living in Delaware, I had a public access cooking show called Reuben's Indian Kitchen.
Hmm.
That's about all the media that I've done. Oh, and I had a podcast at one point called Guys Who Cry. We don't do it anymore, but it was a men's mental health podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Intentional Leader Podcast. This is the podcast where you hear the real stories of people just like you who have become extraordinary leaders. You'll learn valuable lessons from their lives, lessons that you can apply to become the best leader you were created to be. When leaders are intentional, lives are changed. I'm your host, Jen Olson. I am an author, speaker, business owner, and podcast host. Thank you for tuning into the Intentional Leader Podcast today. If you would help us out as we begin by hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, leaving us some comments, we can make all the algorithms happy. We would greatly appreciate that. So listeners, you are in for a treat today. You are used to me having awesome guests, and I have an awesome guest that we're going to be interviewing today. But for the first time in the Intentional Leader Podcast, I have a co-host. That co-host is my wife and business partner, Jen Olson.
Hello.
You'll get to know her a little bit today, and you'll see why she's on this podcast today. And our guest today is Reuben Dhanawade. Reuben is a friend we've had for a while now, and that's why Jen is on here, because this relationship with Reuben actually came through her, and I'm going to let her explain that in just one second. So listeners, you're in for a special treat today. Reuben is a chef. He has done some competitive competitions in chef and cooking on the Food Network and other shows, and just making a huge impact in restaurants. So you're in for a special treat today. Jen, why don't you get us rolling today with the connection to Reuben and how this all came about?
Okay. So Rosh and Amber are friends of mine from Bloomington, Indiana. They helped me with some Chick-fil-A events that I would do when I was senior marketing director there. And Rosh had posted that his brother Reuben was doing Chop Champions. And so I started following and just loved every minute of it. And we actually got to meet Reuben and Liz, his fiance, in Charleston recently on a trip. And so we got to meet in person and just spend some time together. So it's really fun to have you here, Reuben.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. It was so much fun when you guys came to visit. And, you know, it's always funny when you meet a social media friend in person for the first time. So it was really, really special.
Yeah.
And you guys came out and supported my fiance. And so that was really special. We really appreciated that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you can give a little drop for Liz really quick about what she does, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll put her link in the show notes today.
Yeah, so Liz Kelly, Kelley, that's my fiance. She's a musician. She's done a whole bunch of stuff. We actually met in Nashville when I lived there for a brief period of time. But she has been killing it in the music industry with a band, but now she does her own solo stuff. And yeah, she's really, really killing it. So really, really proud of her.
That's awesome. We'll put her links in the notes.
She's very talented, very talented.
Absolutely. Well, Reuben, we start out every show just asking our guests to kind of walk us through their professional career, leadership lessons learned along the way, and we'll just kind of make a good conversation out of that. So tell us about how you got into cooking and how that all came about.
Well, I have always been on record by saying that my mom was my biggest inspiration when it came to cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to this country in 1996. Well, at least my mom, brother, and I did. My dad was here the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically I was always in the kitchen with my mom cooking and helping her out, doing some small little projects here and there. And then when it came time to go to high school, I went to a vocational high school, Hudson Tech. I did culinary arts there. And then I went to community college for culinary arts and then just started my career there. Started as a line cook, worked my way up to sous chef, chef manager, a couple of locations. And it's definitely been interesting to see since I've started my career, the evolution of leadership in culinary arts and in kitchens. So it's really it's really cool to be on here and kind of talk about that side of things. I don't think it's talked about enough.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you just prompted a thought for me. There are a lot of people who are cooks, right? So you're in your mom's kitchen, and I can imagine what that would be like and smell like. I'm sure she's an incredible cook, but not all cooks are chefs. So you end up going to that culinary school and things like that. And I can see for a lot of people when they have a passion, and especially an artistic passion, which I would consider cooking to be that, when it becomes your job, you sometimes lose that passion. What was that transition like for you, going from a cook at home with mom to a trained chef, and how did the passion play on that?
Well, it was really interesting. I have always been kind of a creative person, whether it was, drawing. I was never really good at any of that stuff, but cooking was the one thing that I felt like I could really express myself. And you're right. There's a totally big difference between a cook and a chef. A chef is a leader, someone who, leads the army into battle. The cooks are like the soldiers, and
Hmm.
so you're supposed to direct the cooks to do what they do. One of the things I always tell my fiance, she thought it was funny, but I have always said you have to have your faces in places, and she was like, "Well, isn't it aces in places?" And I was like, "Well, not everybody's an ace, It's like you
Yep.
have to know like who fits in into the right role." And so I think that's part of being a chef, and yeah, I think like that was like the biggest transition from just cooking at home with my mom, and then going into a kitchen, doing it professionally, and then seeing like, okay, what do I need to do to make it to the next level and be that leader and not just be a face, but become an ace.
Awesome. Awesome. So as you're getting into that, I like your articulation there. Everybody has their impression of a chef now from like the Gordon Ramsays of the world, who are
Right.
that dictator, loud, yelling, screaming. I'm sure you've had your share of those and you've developed your own passion with it. But what is leadership like in that? You talked about deploying your team a little bit, but how does leadership really take place from the chef to that team?
Well, I mean, it's just like any form of leadership. I feel like everybody has kind of their own style. You do have the chefs that are yelling and that are kind of throwing things, that are angry. Because we chefs, we work a lot. We're always in kitchens. We're there, from about 12, 13 hours a day sometimes,
Wow.
and we don't see our families. We don't see that, and so a lot of that stress kind of builds up. And I think some people don't know how to deal with those
Mm,
emotions and the anger, and so I think it comes out with you're on your staff sometimes from some leaders. And so, yeah, so dealing with different types of leadership, it's made me really look inside and see like, okay, well, how would I want to be
mm,
led, and what works with me, and like what makes me feel better. And so definitely like working with all these different types of, like the Gordon Ramsay thing, like that's all for show, like that. I'm
yeah.
sure he was like that at one point, and he probably still is, but we're in a day and age where, I mean, restaurants are just hurting for help.
Hmm.
So it's not the 90s or the 2000s anymore where people were like looking for to be in like high class restaurants. People are able to get jobs wherever they want now. So you have to figure out how to retain these good employees.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us what competition shows have you been on
Yeah, so I've
for
been
the
on
audience?
Chopped. I've been on Chopped, and it was a tournament called Desperately Seeking Sous Chef. Uh, and so it was, funny enough, talking about what we were just talking about. And it was a it was a 5 episode series arc where the first 4 episodes were heats,
Hmm.
were sort of the same style as like the competition show. So it would be, you do entree, appetizer, entree, or appetizer, entree, dessert,
Hmm.
with the boxes. And I won my heat, and then I made it to the finale, and then I got chopped in the entree round. But I did well enough that one of the judges wanted to bring me on their team, And so that's what
Nice.
took me to Nashville. And then the other show I did that was a couple of years ago was called Supermarket Stakeout,
Hmm.
which was a really fun show. It's if you've never seen this, I feel like everyone has seen Chopped, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people have seen Supermarket Stakeout, which I think was actually a lot more fun because you have to basically they set up these kitchens in a grocery store parking lot, and you're given $500 at the beginning of the show. You have to make that last all three rounds if you make it that far, and you have to buy groceries from people coming out of the store. So it's a really fun. You have to really like put on your charisma and try to convince people to sell you things and haggle and like that kind of thing. So those are the two shows I've been on. And then when I was living in Delaware, I had a public access cooking show called Reuben's Indian Kitchen.
Hmm.
That's about all the media that I've done. Oh, and I had a podcast at one point called Guys Who Cry. We don't do it anymore, but it was a men's mental health podcast.
I like that. We should, though. We should.
Yeah.
So, give us a little insight on behind the scenes on these shows.
Yeah. So a lot of people always ask me with Chopped, they say, how much of it is real? And pretty much like 99% of it's real. You really don't know what's in those boxes until you open it up.
Wow.
And then you're given about 30 seconds to figure out what you want to do because they just need to like clear off. But other than that, I mean, time limit's real. Everything on there is real. Like I said, I didn't know what I was getting. Supermarket Stakeout, the only thing I knew was theme. So each round had a theme, and we knew that those three themes would be throughout the show. I didn't know which round was going to have which theme.
Hmm.
But that's another show where those were all real shoppers that were coming out. They were signing releases at the register if they wanted to come out. And if they didn't, sometimes like people would still go. Like I would go and try to buy something from someone, and they would have to get their release after the fact. I think I ended up buying cream for like $50 from some lady, just like one
Wow.
quart of cream, and so it was
That's
really
some
funny.
pricey cream.
Yeah.
So, more behind the scenes with that. So, like with Chopped, it's 3 rounds. The television program is an hour-long program with commercials and all those sorts of things. But like, what is a taping day like? How much
Oh
time in
man.
between rounds, set up, clear up, all that stuff.
Oh man. A whole day of taping for that is about. It's a full day. So we got there at 6, or no, 7 in the morning. And, obviously we had to get like COVID tested at that time. We still had to get like COVID tested and all that. But then from 7, and if you make it to the last round, I mean, you're there till like 9. And so when I did my filming, mine was the last episode before the finale recorded. And so I won. And then they actually ended up sending me home early and they're like, hey, we'll just finish your interviews tomorrow. And so I finished. I was like so tired the next day. I was actually pretty happy to get chopped in that entree round because I was just so exhausted. But yeah, it's a long day. You have, there's a lot of like setup and cleanup and like, the judges are tasting everything. And, when you have to like come out, they taste the food and then they go back, they reset, come out, they taste the next. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And so it is an exhausting day. But my favorite part has been the people. You meet some of the greatest people doing that show, and I'm still connected with a lot of the people that were on those shows that I met.
Good.
That's awesome.
Good. Yeah, I know. When they show those shows, the competitors seem to have decent camaraderie. That was one of Jen's questions. Like, is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like it is. So like one of the people, like when I competed in Chopped, the woman that I made it to the final round with, her name was Kat. She's an incredible chef. Um, but we were just like rooting each other on, and we ended up. I don't drink anymore, but we ended up like taking a shot at the end together. Like while time was running out, Kat went, grabbed like a bottle of tequila, poured us 2 shots, and like as like the seconds were rolling down, we just like cheers, took a shot, and then gave each other like a huge hug because we were just like so happy for each other that we made it that far. And then on Supermarket Stakeout, actually, funny enough, the guy that I competed against in the final round actually just visited this past weekend. Um, and Kim and I are like brothers. Like he's invited to my wedding, like he's come to my wedding, and same thing with some of the people on Chop. Like one of the girls I met on Chop, like she's coming to the wedding with her daughter, and like you
Awesome.
just meet like the camaraderie is a real thing. At least now it is for like whoever's on there. Obviously, you have people that are like very, they're there to win. They're there to do their thing. But for me, it was all about meeting people and having fun, for sure.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Go ahead.
Do you think you'll do competitions again? Will you do more?
I hope so. I think it's hard once you've been on 2 times because they're always looking for new people. But I would love to do it again if anybody's watching that that is a casting director or producer. I would love to do competitive cooking again. I'm always looking for an opportunity to get on that stage and prove myself against some of the best competitors in the country and just have fun and meeting new people. So yes, I would love to do something in the future, competitive wise.
All right. So we got to put you on the spot on this one. If you could pick the show, which one is it?
I would love to get back on Chopped. I feel like there's some unfinished business there.
Okay.
I think I don't know if I have the mental capacity to do a more than a one-off show, but I would like to see how I would do on like a Hell's Kitchen or like, something like that. One of those like 8-week, 9-week, 10-week shows, or like Next Level Chef or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess like I would love to get back on Chopped. I don't know if that would ever happen, but it'd be really great to get back on Chopped at some point, just to like have some sort of like redemption,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So you won that heat round, got to the finals, got knocked out in the entrees. Did you do Chopped Champions in addition to that, or was
I
that
did.
all?
No, I did not do Chopped Champions. A friend of mine did from that same season. She got back on Chopped Champions, but yeah, I have not gotten a call back for that, which would be cool at some point. But it's also, there's so many people that go on that show. I think they're in like their 60th or 61st season now, and so many people to choose from with that show.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. What what is your favorite dish to make?
Man, see, that's a hard question to ask a chef. I guess it really depends on the mood that I'm in. When I cook for myself, it's not fancy at all. If I cook for my fiance, I make her like curry or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm cooking for other people, I feel like curry is always a good thing. Some sort of curry, whether it's like whether it's like a butter chicken or a Rogan Josh or something like that. Something to I feel like curry is always a soul warming dish. So I guess if I had to cook somebody something, I would make them like a bowl of curry.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So we also know from having watched some of your YouTube things and such as that, there is a television show on another network called Love on the Spectrum, and two people from that show have become incredibly popular, Tanner and Connor.
Yeah.
We saw a video where you had the
Yes.
opportunity to do homemade pizza with them,
That's
which is
so fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
So talk about those two guys first, because they've become really popular in a lot of different ways, and they just seem so incredibly real and genuine.
They are. It was so interesting because I think I just like commented on like Tanner or Connor's Instagram post. I was like, let's cook together. And Tanner, his mom lives about an hour and a half away. Their family lives about an hour and a half away from Charleston, in St. Andrews or something like that. But they like Connor's mom actually reached out and was like, we would love to do something like this. And I just thought it was going to be like just like a lesson, but they wanted to like record it and make some content out of it. And man, it could not have happened to like a sweeter family and people. Like the whole family, and like they've been such great people, and it's been so fun seeing them kind of like blow up and like be on all these shows and like all like the talk shows. And I think Connor's doing some acting now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was super fun doing it with them. And like, I think I like pre-made the doughs, but like, they're just such sweet people. They're
Yeah.
like the sweetest people on the planet, and I really hope we get a chance to like link up again and do something. I just know that they're incredibly busy, but man, shout out to those guys for just really staying true to themselves, because like they really are the sweetest people.
Hey everyone, this is Jen Olson coming to you saying, let's make 2026 the best year ever. Well, how do we make 2026 the best year ever? Part of it is to realize it is going to be a great year. I really feel like the conditions in the US and around the world are really pro business right now. And I think there's going to be incredible business growth if you are intentional and have a plan for it. So I want to invite you to our Leadership Plan 2026 boot camp. It is on December 11 and 12, 3 hours each day, completely virtual, taking in from where you are. We'll be working through a workbook, and here's what we're going to be hitting. How are you laying out your leadership in 2026? You personally, individually, how are you going to lead? How are you going to really impact your own life and the life of people around you? How are you going to lead your team? Where are you going to build your team, adding members to it, helping them achieve heights that they've never achieved before? And how are you going to lead in your business and your enterprise? Being strategic, being intentional, being impactful, making 2026 the best year ever. Here's the thing. Your competitors, they're planning for 2026. They want to be proactive, not reactive. You need to step in front of that yourself and be proactive in all that you do. So I encourage you, join us for Leadership Plan 2026 Boot Camp on December 11 and 12. Click the link below, register for the boot camp. I look forward to seeing you there. When you're done, you'll have a workbook filled out and you're ready to make 2026 the best it can be. I'll see you at the boot camp. Have a great day and God bless. Awesome.
That's awesome.
So when we were with you in Charleston, you were sharing a little bit, competitions, you still like to do it. The restaurant side, it's just intense being the chef and everything. So right now you're serving as a sous chef at a restaurant, but what's your near future with restaurants? And then I know we want to dive in a little bit more to the leadership in the kitchen.
Well, actually, I am just doing prep cook role right now at a restaurant. So I'm not doing the sous chef thing right now, mainly because I was burnt out. But I've taken a step back and just kind of doing a morning prep shift. But on the horizon, I'm trying to do more private chef events around here. This is a beautiful area. I signed up. I'm a Airbnb experience, so people can book me through Airbnb to come and do a dinner for them. I'm trying to get a chai concentrate company off the ground.
I saw that. That's
and
great.
just trying to make my mark. I feel like if there's no time, I'm never going to get this time back, right? Time is the one thing in the world you can't get back. And so I need to just do something. I need to try something for myself, because cooking's always going to be there. There's always going to be a kitchen role for me somewhere, but I don't want to ask myself, what if I got that chai company off the ground in 2025, where would we be now? And so that's what I've been doing, working on that, trying to, I just recently, I'm going to be doing Charleston Wine and Food next year as a talent, which is really cool. And, trying to get involved in the community here has been really big. And so trying to do the private chef thing, Charleston Chai, and being more of a community activist around here is kind of like the three big things on the horizon for me. And obviously my fiance and I are getting married next year. So that's obviously a big thing that we're focused on. But even us, like, we're trying to do some stuff together, and, very much like inspired by people like you two that are able to kind of work together and, build this life together so that we can, we crazy, but we like being around each other. So,
that's awesome.
Trying to figure out what that looks like for us so we can be around each other more. But those are some of the things that are on the horizon right now.
Awesome. So,
That's awesome.
Really quick for our listeners, because a lot of listeners don't really know kind of like the different levels in the kitchen. You said you're a prep cook right now. You've been a sous chef before. There's the executive chef, but kind of walk through like the hierarchy of a true kitchen and kind of the differences in those, because that will then lead to that conversation around leadership at those levels.
Yeah. So a lot of the current day kitchen roles stem from the original kitchen brigade from, I forget, one of the founding fathers, either Escoffier or somebody, but they made this kitchen brigade system where there's like a chef de partie, like all these different chef roles in a kitchen. has kind of been antiquated at this point. So now you have the dishwashers, like line cooks, prep cooks, and then sometimes you'll have a chef de partie, which is kind of like a lead line cook role, and then a sous chef. Every now and then there'll be like an executive sous chef, and then there's either like an executive chef or chef de cuisine, which like the chef de cuisine is usually like the leader, but then the executive chef might be like the chef owner of the concept.
Hmm.
So like when I was at the hotel, there was an executive chef, and then there was a banquet chef who did all the banquets. I was one of the three sous chefs on staff, and then I had line cooks underneath me.
Sous chef. Most people are like, I don't know how to spell it. I don't know what they do. Fill us
Sure,
in.
yeah. So a sous chef is basically like the assistant manager. So it's basically like assisting the chef in executing the menu, doing the food orders, tracking labor, doing all of these things to help make the operation successful and smooth. And it can be a tasking role because a lot of the sous chefs do a lot of like the hard grunt work. The chef might come up with an idea, be like, "Oh, I'm thinking about this, this dish that incorporates this. Like, what do you think? Can you start doing some testing?" And so then I'll start doing some testing with that while having to manage the line, manage a dinner service. So, part of being a sous chef is like we're usually like that first line of defense between, the dining room, the front of the house staff. So you might hear me say front of the house, back of the house. Front of the house is obviously like the serving and staff, in front of the house manager and dining room manager, bartenders, that whole thing. Back of the house is where like the kitchen, I think, so usually the sous chef is like that first line of defense um, between the chef and the rest of the staff. Usually, as a sous chef, you should know pretty much as many answers as you can and before you take it to the executive chef.
Nice. You're kind of like the glue that holds it together.
Yeah, definitely one of the many adhesives in a kitchen for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So tell us how you all would manage, I guess, the different personalities that can be in a kitchen and the fast pace and all of that. Do you all do team building, like leading up to maybe at the end of the year, you might do some team building for the next year? Do you do any kind of leadership development within
Um,
the team?
yeah, absolutely. So definitely with the hotel, they did a lot of trying to do a lot of team building and trying to really build the staff that was there. Kitchens, I feel like, are an interesting dynamic because you're there so much
Mm-hmm.
and you see these people more than you do your own family, and these people become your family. And so team building in a kitchen becomes more like, you know, brothers in battle, like you're like battle hearted. Like I'm friends with chefs that like, it's like we've been through war together.
Yeah.
And, team building for us, unfortunately, it was like going out and like grabbing a few drinks together and like talking about the service, having fun, um, and treating each other like equals until we're back to work. And then we have to follow those hierarchies again.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, fun question. When you're one of the chefs, you're there 6, 7 days a week, 12, 13 hours a day. The question everybody always asks, do you eat the food? Or you're like, I'm done with this place from cooking it every day, all day.
Man, if we have a chance to eat. So like sometimes, man, so I've had to, what I do now is I've been really trying to be good about my diet. And so I've been meal prepping a lot at work. And so at home, and then I'll take it into work. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, I work at a place that you guys came to eat. We
Yep.
have really good pizzas where I work. So sometimes I'll have a
Mm-hmm.
couple slices of pizza or like, something like that. But man, most chefs are just on their feet all day. We're eating out of the deli containers and just like eating as we're standing up. One of the things that my fiance had to get me out of was eating while like standing and eating. She's like, "You can sit down and eat with me. Like it's okay."
Yeah.
So no, we don't usually eat what we make for customers. for ourselves, just because like we don't have time to really sit down. We'll make something quick and easy for ourselves for
Hmm.
sure.
That's awesome. So what's like the next thing in culinary, right? Everybody's always trying to figure out what's next, some new artistic way to go about it. What do you see as kind of the like next level?
Man, that's interesting. All this talk about AI, people talk about like AI generated food and AI generated this, that. I think when it comes to food, I think a lot of chefs are going to start using AI to help them with their ideas that they have.
Mm,
So, hey, I have this idea of a food, of like this dish that looks like this, that tastes like this. Like, what do you think that looks like? And using that is kind of like a springboard. I know it's like a really controversial thing. And I do think it can be a really good tool if used correctly. I think the problem is a lot of people have kind of replaced cognitive thinking with AI, but I think I could see that becoming a big thing. And I think also going back to roots. I've reached this
mm,
point in my own life and my own palate, um, to where I don't want to eat anything fancy anymore. I mean, every now and then I will
yeah.
want to experience something, but I just want good food,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? Like, I just want a good bowl of pho when it's rainy outside. I just
Yeah.
want some really good tacos from a food truck, from a taco truck.
Hmm.
They've been doing it for years. I don't need the fancy frills. And in my 20s, I definitely wanted that. I wanted all those experiences, and I still do from time to time. But I think going back to just more approachable food, I think is something that I personally have reached in like the next level in my personal journey.
Awesome.
Make sure to give a shout out to where you are right now.
Oh yeah, so I'm at a
Working.
restaurant called Obstinate Daughter. It
Yes.
is consistently on like the top 10 lists in Charleston. Nothing crazy fancy, but just really good food. We make all our
Yeah.
pizza dough in house. We make like pretty much 99% of our pastas are made in house, other than the gluten free pastas. Um, and we have, I mean, we make everything in house, and we also have a really good gelateria in the
Hmm.
bottom. And
Hmm.
so it's a really great restaurant. If you guys have a chance to come out, for sure, come out and try some of the food that we're making.
It is very, very good. We enjoyed our time there and seeing you in your element for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I had to just like pop out. I was down in what I call like the dungeon, because it's just like kind of like the prep kitchen at the bottom. There's like no windows or anything, but like it's such a good operation. And like, again, talk going back to management. I mean, I feel like the management style there is like exactly what I've been, searching for. And definitely it could be a heck of a lot worse. There's a lot of restaurants I've worked at that have been, really, really, toxic, and this has been a
Hmm.
really good situation for me and my relationship and my fiance.
Good. It actually
That's
leads me
great.
to a question. When we were there, you guys have what I would call an exposed kitchen, right?
Yeah.
You can see it from the dining room and stuff. Restaurants today are going more to that concept. What do the employees, the chefs, actually feel about that? Do they like that exposure? Do they wish it was more behind the scenes?
I mean, I don't really think. I mean, I don't really think we really think about it anymore. My first experience in an open kitchen was in Delaware, and it was a little weird at first because you can't really like talk loud. You have
Hmm.
to watch what you're saying. But there's so much going on, especially at that restaurant, where like you really don't have time to really like goof off.
Yeah.
But I think chefs like it. I think they like finally getting a little bit of exposure and like getting the recognition. I think is cool for chefs, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
You want to ask that one? Or you want to ask it?
Sure.
All right. So we saw one of your videos where you're making chai with somebody, and you're talking now about wanting to put out a chai line. And people know what chai is, generically speaking. They can get it at Starbucks, their coffee shops and stuff. But what is true chai the way that Reuben would make it?
Yeah. And so chai, not chai tea, as Starbucks
Hmm.
has it labeled on their menu, because chai means tea. Um, so growing up, my mom would make masala chai, which is basically tea that is steeped with a bunch of spices. So cardamom, star anise, fennel, clove, ginger, and it's steeped, and then it has milk and sugar, and it's just this like really warming drink that I personally think about when it comes to fall. Growing up, we had tea time growing up. When I would come home from school, my mom would have chai and we'd have some biscuits and we'd talk about our day.
Nice.
And I think part of what I have been thinking is how do I bring what's a incredibly unique thing to bring to Charleston that Charleston doesn't have. And to me, that's an authentic masala chai experience. And so if I could start introducing this into local coffee shops and just kind of spreading the word about, what chai is and like, what it is, I think it could be a really cool and fun thing to do. And if we ever have kids, it'd be cool to like kind of like have that kind of legacy as the guy who like introduced Charleston to like proper masala chai.
That would be awesome.
That would be very awesome.
That would be.
Very awesome. What I saw the video of you with the barista that was doing.
Yeah. So that's
Where were
Nicole.
you?
So that's Nicole. She's the owner of Harlow and Pearl here
Okay.
in Charleston. It is part of a boutique like store right off Highway 17 here. But yeah, she was really great. They're always doing these wonderful specialty lattes. And Liz would be going in there, almost once a week and said, "Oh, you should do something with my fiance. He's a chop champion. And like, he does a really good chai." And so that kind of started this whole thing. And I started making chai concentrate, and I made a chai concentrate, brought it in, and they loved it. And now they're selling it. Now their chai is that. And,
Awesome.
it's a good little first experiment. And now hopefully like I can build on that. But yeah, it's right here in Charleston and they've been super great and really supportive. And so we're excited about
Is
that
it in Mount
partnership.
Pleasant?
It is. It's in Mount
Okay.
Pleasant.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know. I just keep thinking about Obstinate Daughter. It was so good. And it was so fun with it being right near Sullivan's Island. We just love that area. And I don't know. Very fun.
Yeah. Sullivan's Island is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is. It is. Well, Reuben, it's been great to have you on here. Thanks for sharing your food knowledge. Thanks for sharing some of the leadership tips behind it. But I do want to finish the way we finish every episode on the Intentional Leader podcast. Reuben, what is something our listeners can intentionally do today to be a more effective leader?
For me, the biggest thing that has helped me has been to be involved in my employees' lives, as far as not lives, but like to be involved in their experience at work. So I have always had the pleasure of like when I leave somewhere, the staff there wants to come with me wherever I go. When I was in Delaware, I worked at the University of Delaware, and they was like, "Oh, if you ever open up a restaurant, like we would come work with you." And to me, that's because I take the time to, I don't just come by and be like, "How's it going, guys?" Like I'm like, "Oh, how's it going? Oh, how's your dog doing? How's your cat doing? Hey, is your kid doing all right?" I think little things like that go a long way. It's just even like when like delivery drivers come in, I think it's like offering them like, "Hey, you good? You need something to drink? You want a cup of coffee?"
Yeah.
99% of the time they're like, "No, I'm good, but thank you." I think you could tell that they really appreciate being appreciated and, realizing that we don't just see them as pawns, we see them as people. And to me, that's really important as a leader to really invest in your people. Because I think like when you start investing in your people, you start showing them that you care. That's when you get longevity. One thing I can say about Obstinate Daughter is that it is one of the few restaurants that I've worked at in the past 5 years that they have had employees that have been there for like 3 years, 4 years, 7 years, which is like really rare in this industry. And they have longevity. And so to me, that has been the biggest thing I've taken away. And like the biggest thing I tell prospective people who are going to leadership roles is like, man, don't just look at your employees as like they're your employees. Like look at them as like they're your people and that they're, you just get to know them. And they tend to want to come to work instead of dreading coming to work,
Absolutely. Great tip. Great tip. We appreciate it. Reuben, it's great to have you on here.
Yes,
so this is
so fun.
Different wrap up for me. Jen, great to have you.
Thank you.
As a co-host.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Will not be the last time as a co-host. But Reuben, it's been great to see you again. Listeners, as you take in this episode in the show notes, we'll have how you can connect with Reuben. We'll have his YouTube channel on there and other pieces so you can track that. Reuben, all the best to you as you continue this culinary journey and as you start in a new life of marriage in the new year. We look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you guys here in Charleston soon.
Yes.
All
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Intentional Leader Podcast presented by Reenergize Professional Coaching. Be sure to see the show notes for links to Reenergize Professional Coaching and links to contact our guests. Now, hit that subscribe button so that you are alerted with every new episode of the Intentional Leader Podcast.